We're here with Milton and Brenda Jones, and we're just going to talk informally about their life experiences. And I want the people here, the Madison people know you, but there may be other people who watch this eventually. Just maybe tell a little bit about what you've done professionally. And I know you both are retired now, but just Milton, what did you do professionally? Then Brenda, will get to you.
Well, I had a very good career. I retired as an air traffic controller, and I was a manager at the Nashville airport. I've been a controller for 32 years, and I've gone from, I started in Louisville, Kentucky, went to Lexington, Kentucky, came to Nashville, went to Memphis, got promoted, went to Detroit, spent my 2 years in Detroit, got out of there, and I moved to Oklahoma City, and I taught air traffic control. And while I was there, I had some Hawaiian brothers that were controllers that taught there also, that asked me to put in for Hawaii and come over there. So I did it and spent an excellent 6 years in Hawaii controlling traffic and enjoyed it. But I came back to Nashville after that as supervisor and manager and area manager, and I think I had another job before becoming manager, and that's how I retired from there. But I had a very interesting, good career.
It sounds like a good career. I think about air traffic controllers and the stereotypical stress that would go with that. Is that true? I would think it would be.
It is true. I've seen some stressful times that I've had, and sweat will just pop out. I never will forget a few times I had. But it does bother some people to the point where I've seen them quit right there. And I even had a guy that right here in Nashville, it got to him so that he quit right there. He unplugged. He had airplanes, and just so happened, the supervisor, they always know what's going on. It's hard to keep up with 10 guys, but he just happened to be around this guy, may have suspected something, and he had to jump in and take care of his traffic after he unplugged and left. But you have situations like that. Wow. And some people do have to take sabbaticals, and it happens. Wow. Okay. So, well, Brenda, I know something about you that people here probably don't know.
What's that?
The actress part.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, tell about that, and then tell about what you did professionally too.
Okay. I've always enjoyed being an actor, and since I was 10 years old, I always wanted to be an actress, because I had my first play my first role in a church play, and I really liked that, because I liked what I got from the audience. I said I did something to make them smile, or I did something to make them cry, or whatever, and I just wanted to continue to do that. And so I ended up with the Opryland. I had a show in Opryland as a singer in the Dixieland patio, and I had a band there. And one exciting thing about that was Johnny Cash came to one of my shows, and the people, as I was performing, the people noticed that Johnny Cash was in the audience, and so they started running over to him to get an autograph, and he stood up and he waved at me. He said, "I'm sorry," and he left. And but he was really, I could tell he was enjoying the show, because we had a really good band too.
Well, how interesting! I didn't know you were a singer.
Yeah. And I've been to on the USO shows, went to Germany and Holland, and I performed there for the military with a group from Tennessee State University.
Wow.
And from there, I used to sing in groups. We would travel a lot around Tennessee and other little places, and put on shows before the main show would come on. And But I guess my biggest experience with that was just being able to go to USO shows.
Well, that sounds fascinating. Both of you have traveled the world then in different capacities.
Mm-hmm.
But you as an educator.
Yes, I have a master's in education, and I've always liked being around children and teaching and talking to them, and I just get so excited when I see the light comes on for them, and I was an elementary ed school teacher. Mm-hmm. Before that, I started out as a substitute teacher, and then there were other teachers in the particular schools would say, "Hey, why don't you go get certified and teach? They really like my work." And I said, well, if I do that, I'm going back to get my master's too. I'll do it all at one time, and that's what I did, and I enjoyed it a lot. And until I retired,
I remember when you were teaching at one of the inner city schools here in Nashville before you retired.
Right, Kirkpatrick Elementary
down by
School.
Shelby Park in that area.
Right. I taught an all-girls class. They tried a new thing, to have an all-girls class and an all-boys class. So I taught an all-girls class. That was 4th grade, I believe. And then from there, I went on to teach 3rd grade and then 2nd grade. And kindergarten, I started out there at the kindergarten. I also taught at Stratton School up here. And
I'm an alumni.
Oh, are you? Okay.
I went to Stratton.
Okay, yeah. I taught in a reading program that they had. I was an interventionist, and I would help the kids who were having problems, remedial problems in reading and language. And we saw a lot of progress with that.
What we really want to focus in on, of course, is about racial issues and about faith issues. And we want to talk to you from your perspective as being a black person and your faith and what you've experienced. So here's the question, and I'm throwing it out here, I guess maybe to Milton first. What was it like for you being black and growing up in your community? Looking for positives, negatives.
Well, I was fortunate. I didn't have a lot of negatives growing up. I was born here in Nashville, Tennessee, and I left here. I lived in an all-black neighborhood, right down on Main Street was where I was born. Main Street and I think it's Spring Street, right there in that area. Mm-hmm. Now, as far as being there were white families around, and as a matter of fact, a doctor lived next door to us, and he was one of our best friends. We never saw color at my little young age there. We never saw color at all. But I left Nashville. My father took his business to Louisville, Kentucky, when I was 9 years old, and that was the very first year that Louisville became integrated. Well, there was some thoughts behind that, and we said, "Oh boy, we're gonna have some trouble." I just thought that. But when I started in that school, that was the best experience I've ever had with other races, because that school, it was great. We were in the west end of Louisville, and you just couldn't beat the friendship that we had, and it was a good mixture up there. Well, getting older, I went to a black junior high school. Maybe just a very few whites in there, and we never had any problems. When I was in high school, it was fully integrated. Louisville Male High School, everybody remember that. But that was integrated school. It was predominantly white, and we had no problems. Every once in a while you hear about small things, but nothing ever happened to me. Mom raised us pretty good as far as coming up and recognizing color. I mean, they didn't promote that in any way whatsoever. My father got he got on as a postman with the post office, and all of his friends were white. There were I don't think there was another black guy in the post office where he worked in a suburb of Louisville, and they would all come over to the house. We would go over to their places. We would. They liked to play back in those days. Those men loved to play sports, and the one big thing was basketball. And I love to go out there and watch those men play basketball. And every once in a while they'd tell me, "Come on in and play with us." And I did that. And we just never saw color in it. I knew there were some problems around, but we were not exposed to it. And Mom, I tell you this, she, if we would try to grab the door, if they back in the 60s, you know how it was, they were demonstrating a lot. Well, big mouth me, I want to get into it. I want to go demonstrate. Please let me go demonstrate. I don't even know why I would be demonstrating, but Mom dared me to touch that door. She dared. My sister was too young, but she dared me to go out that door and think that I was going downtown to do something like that. But we were just raised a little bit different, and I've had some friends coming up that were exposed to a lot of pressure, and I just thank God I was never around it. We were brought up in a good Christian family, and as a lot of people know, I was raised Catholic, and that was all integrated at our church, and even our priest was always white, and there was never ever any problems whatsoever. He would jump on us because we'd be acting bad or something like that, but we never had any problems. The only problems that I started having was when I went to the military. In basic training, I think I had more problems with racial issues because there were people from everywhere coming in, and everybody is raised different. But we maybe a couple of fist fights I got into, but otherwise there were no problems. After basic training, that type of stuff was not allowed in the Air Force. When I went to, I was up in Washington, D.C., spent a long time in Washington, and as you know, Washington is fully integrated, and we never had any problems up there, never.
It sounds like you've been one of the fortunate ones. There's been more harmony in your life racially than there's been with other people of our generation. So you were fortunate.
I know a lot of people that have been through it. I really do. But I just thank God that I've never been through anything. I think Brenda has been through more than I have. And when I went to the Philippines, I was over there, and everybody, it was all races over there, and we never had any conflictions at all. And naturally in Vietnam we didn't have any conflictions. We had to hold on to each other, and
just for survival. Yes, I forgot to mention you're a Vietnam vet.
Oh yeah. And we had to hold on to each other, and there were some hard times, but we survived through that. But I after that, when I came back from military, going into the FAA, I thought I was going to have some problems. I really did, because when I got hired, I was the only white. I was the first black to get hired in Louisville, Kentucky. And I got hired in an all-white facility there in Stanford Field, Nashville. And I thought I was going to run into problems, but I never did. The manager there took me in his arms and made sure that I had everything I wanted and all the books that I needed, all the learning that I needed. I got transferred to Lexington, Kentucky. I did have a little problem in Lexington. I do remember at times when certain events would be going on, the guys would be talking about it. I could see from the corner of my eye a particular guy that would say, you know, I mean, he didn't say it out loud, but no, as far as inviting but there were other things I did get invited to that didn't bother me. You know, I just said, well, I'll just take it with a grain of salt.
You just rolled with it,
Oh,
whatever those little things were. But
And coming to Nashville, I was the first black in Nashville, first black controller in Nashville. However, the manager from Hendersonville, Joe May, he kind of questioned his guys there. He said, what would you think of the black controller coming in here? We'll train him. And not a bad word was said, not a wrong word was said. I was welcomed in open arms. And to this day, I still have a very good friend. He's elder at Creve Hall, Galen Northcutt. We become excellent friends and still are excellent friends. Those guys took me in my arms, and I think that's what really, really started my career going up.
You felt welcomed.
I really did. All the other places, no problem. It just every once in a while you might hear a joke that you shouldn't be doing that, but it wasn't enough to make you get mad or go off, go crazy on anything
Well,
like
some
that.
of that may be your personality too, because some people do hear jokes and they don't necessarily not get mad. They
I
do
understand
get mad, but I mean, maybe there's something in you too about this. I don't know.
Well, Frank, I understand that because those people that get upset are people that have been exposed to a lot of things that I haven't been exposed
Yes.
to, and I some of them I had pity. I really felt bad for them, but I was just lucky. I didn't have their feeling, but I understand how they felt.
Yeah, if you can relate to it, but you
Yes.
haven't experienced it. All right, let's shift to Brenda for a little bit here. So, what were your experiences growing up?
Well, we had a very good home life. We had a great time. My parents, I guess they kept us kind of sheltered like because they knew what was out there. We didn't go a lot of places. We just stayed around the house and at our friend's house down down the street or whatever. We grew up in a all black community. Then when they wanted to build a park in our area, the whites were moving out from up the street from us, and then the blacks were moving up, and up the street. So it was a whole family of us, and everybody was related. Everybody was helping one another. If somebody needed flour or sugar, they would, borrow, or they would plan to, when they go to the store, I'll buy this and you buy that, and we'll share it. Real community. Yeah. And everybody looked out for their children, for everybody's children. If we got in trouble and our parents weren't around, our parents found out about it. And we may have gotten a spanking from the person who told, and then got one when we got home. But mainly it was a regular, to me it was just a really good upbringing. And the subject of racism didn't really come up much, but we knew about it. But it wasn't addressed until something happened, or we would watch and see what our parents did when they were approached. And a lot of times they just ignored it. They walked away from it. They didn't try to retaliate or anything. And I just remember an incident when my mother took my sister and I to the downtown to go shopping, and we would pass by Woolworths, and then after we finished with our shopping, we would go to the Crystals. And I mean, they had those hamburgers smelling so good in that street.
I understand that. I love crystals, yeah.
And one day we went inside to order some hamburgers. Well, I didn't know not to stand in front of the counter, and I didn't know that we couldn't sit down at that time. So I stood in front of the counter. So the waitress came over to us. We were standing there at the counter, and she said, "I have to serve you all over here." It was a little corner, the end of the counter, and she said, "I have to serve you all over here." And she looked down like she didn't want to tell us that, but it was just a policy, I guess.
That's one of those classic cases you hear about whites being able to be served here, but not blacks. They had to go over here to the back or to the side or something. How did that make you feel?
Oh, I felt hurt. I was angry. I got upset because of why are they making a difference in us? And I told my mother after we had gotten the hamburgers and we were walking to the bus stop, I said, "Mom, why couldn't we go in there and stand in front of the counter and order our food? Or why couldn't we sit down?" And she never said a word. She looked at me. I said, "Well, I tell you what, if they're going to treat us like that, we shouldn't support them. We should not give them our money, And so she knew I was angry, and she looked at me and she didn't say a word. But the next time we went shopping, and I was smelling those hamburgers, they smell so good. Yeah. We walked right by the place. She would not even go in there anymore. And so that was one of the things that happened. I said, "Well, Mama, why aren't we going in there now?" Because I was hungry. And but anyway, she just didn't say anything. She just looked at it, and she didn't have a smile on her face or nothing. She just kept walking, just with her head up.
Well, she modeled dignity for you in that approach.
She did.
I mean, other people, I'm not saying this judgmentally, other people would be angry and would act angrily.
Right.
Your mother chose to not be like that.
Right, she did. And there was a time when we went to Woolworths, and we would go in, the other people in front of us would go in, and they say, "Hello, neighbor." It was a man always, they greeted folks coming in, and he said, "Hello, neighbor." And then he was saying that to everybody, but when it came to us, he used the N-word, hello, and the N-word. And my mother didn't look at him. She just held her head up and kept going. And we followed her. We looked up at him like, puzzled. And then we just walked on and followed her.
Okay, Milton, you were having a reaction to her saying that. Have you ever heard that story before?
No. No, I have not.
Yeah. So then, we had so many. I remember when they first started letting blacks ride the bus. The front of the bus, you could sit anywhere you wanted to on the bus. I think I was going to college at that time, though. I knew I used to go downtown too, but I can't remember. It was so long ago. But I remember when that law had passed that we could sit anywhere on the bus that we wanted to, because every time we got on the bus, we sat in the back of the bus.
Just automatically, and it was the law.
Yeah, it was just automatic, right.
Yeah.
Right. And so when that happened, when we could sit anywhere on the bus, then I took my time about that. I didn't trust the people that were on the bus, So I just said, well, I started out one week I would sit in the back of the bus again because it was a comfortable place. That's where I knew I used to, it was okay to be there. And then the next time I said, I'm going to try sitting up front. Well, I didn't make it all the way up front that time, so I sat in the middle. And no one said anything to me. And then the next time I got on the bus, I sat up front and no one said anything to me. I said, okay, I could breathe. I said, okay, it's all right now. And it's terrible that you have to go through something like that. And you remember that. It's so fresh in your mind as you get older,
Well, I'm glad you're sharing this, Brenda. I'm glad we're giving you an opportunity to share this.
Yes.
Because I don't know if I ever would have heard this story otherwise.
Well, I had another couple other stories about the Crystal hamburger. When that incident happened, even after everything was okay, and blacks were working in Crystals, I still would not go in Crystals. I would not, support them at all. And as one day I said, I have to get over this. I've got to let this grudge go. And I just said, let me kick in with my faith. Lord said to pray for those, who hurt you. You pray for them and you pray for a blessing for them, and things that come up, you have to let it go or it's going to eat at you. And I decided that that's what I was going to do. I was going to just let it go and just one day just go on into Crystal's and order a hamburger. And even though I said, okay, it's okay, it doesn't taste like it used to.
Well, there's a good example of what we want to interweave with this. I mean, you have depended upon your faith to help you during these difficult times.
Right, even when they threw eggs at my house.
Well, tell me about that.
We were all sitting outside one night, my brothers and sisters, and maybe all of them weren't there. We had friends that would come up too, and we'd sit out and we'd talk and we'd laugh. We'd just have a really good time, just feeling safe and secure at home. And then we noticed this red truck would come up the street real slow. He did it about at least twice. And then the third time that he came up the street, he came up real fast, and there was a group of white kids in the back, and he was white driving, a group of white kids in the back of his truck. They had stooped down, but when they got to our house, he slowed down and they threw eggs at us. No. And we started running for the door, to get in the house. And I said, did anybody get hit? And my brother said, yeah, they hit me in my back with an egg. So that next morning we had to get up and clean up everything, because it was dark. We couldn't see where the eggs had splattered and all. And so we were upset. We weren't really just terrified or anything. We just said, that's just the way they are. And we accepted that we might get that kind of reaction because of the color of our skin or because of, who we are. And we lived in a nice place. It was clean in our area. And, we just felt that some people are just like that, but not all people are like that. Not all whites are like that. And we grew up just saying, Mom would say, you treat others the way you want to be treated. When people hurt you, if they hurt you, you walk away or you don't pay any attention to them. You're going to always have that feeling about some people, but then when you feel that you can trust them, then, go ahead, have that talk and, and sit down and talk with them and just have a good time with them, but.
I mean, as a white child, teenager, I never had to experience anything like you did. Mm-hmm. And you were hurt and anger would come out of that, but you would try to deflect that.
Right.
Take the high road.
And I tell you, we prayed a lot. I just prayed, Lord, don't let anything happen to us. Protect us. And it was like we felt scared to even go out sometimes, and we always stayed close to home or close to our community. We didn't have any problems right there. There was our safe haven. But when we stepped outside of our community is when we were faced with some prejudice, and we knew how to walk away from it rather than to try to retaliate. We were upset, we were hurt, we would walk home crying, we would, with hurt feelings. But it was just that we knew how to not get more involved. Even when we were in school and they had the riots going on downtown, there were people the black people would come to the school. They wouldn't come inside the school, but they stood out in front of the schools and would try to get the kids to come out of the schools to go march. Well, we knew better that I knew I would be in trouble if I went out to march. I wanted to, but then I was afraid that what I was going to get when I got home. And but I felt that my mama sent me to school. She did not send me to be pulled out of school without her permission to go down and protest. And I didn't go, but I had a cousin that went, and she was happy. But they, there were riots broke out at the time, and I was afraid for my cousin. But her dad was glad that she went on. But I wouldn't do that because I didn't have permission from my parents to do it.
And I know, like you're saying, your cousin, I mean, you wouldn't judge anybody who would go and protest. You would look upon that as noble and worthy.
No.
But in your particular situation, you knew that you needed to stay at home. That's what your parents
wanted. And we had to be obedient. We were very obedient. We just didn't want to worry our parents as to where we were or what was going on with us or anything. So we just decided that we would I decided I would just stay at the school where my mother knew where I was.
Well, yes. You were here in Nashville during that time. And I've read a lot about the civil rights movement here in Nashville. I was very unaware of all of that. I mean, just oblivious. I was a young teenager, I guess, during that time. But I mean, you were living through this.
Yes.
Right in the middle of all
Right in the middle of it. And I remember when A.Z. Kelly's son, we were all close friends because they lived across the street from my grandmother. And he wanted his son to go to East High, but they wouldn't allow him to go. But there's a big story on that. You can read about it and everything. So we were their friends, but they never tried to force anything on us to say, hey, retaliate or protest or do anything like that. He just did what he needed to do for his son to get in school at East High.
I didn't realize that. I mean, East High used to be segregated, right?
Yeah, it was all segregated.
They were integrated, and he wasn't. He chose not to go to East High because.
Well, he was. I'm trying to think if Robert got in there or not, but I don't think so. But I think his dad was trying to get him in there. Why can't my son go to a big school like yours? But they're very successful people, and
I'm just looking at. I mean, you two, your approach has been just try to walk away. Be strong in the Lord, even though there's no judgment towards anybody that does get involved in protest. Pray about it. Pray about it, and that's how you've approached any of these difficulties.
Yes, and as the song goes, we come this far by faith, and leaning on the Lord, and that's what we had in our hearts. It was instilled in us, as my daddy used to say. Let the Lord take care of it. Put it in the hands of the Lord is what he would say.
I'm glad things like Brenda's had a hard life.
I mean, I didn't even look at it as being hard. I looked at it as being, difficult or surprisingly, the fact that we weren't accepted like everybody else, because of the color of our skin. But then we learned there's white in our family, we have relatives, but they never came around or they never came to us to let us know, except my dad had an experience where he was a nurse at the VA, and he was waiting on one of a patient, and he said, your people, this white man told him, your people are my people. He said, you're married to one of my relatives, so, the man knew, but nobody came forward. And I'm going like, well, why don't they recognize us as part of their family then? You know, they did, but, and I used to sit and think about this and say, well, maybe it's because they don't want their friends to be angry with them if they have black relatives or if they cater to blacks, you know. They don't want their friends to know about it because they don't want to lose their white friends, or they would call them the in-lovers or something like that. Something, yeah. But I didn't like the fact that we were all stereotyped. You know, if blacks in this area over here, North Nashville, would do something wrong, then all blacks in East, North, South, and West were considered to be the same, and that's not true. You know, nobody is the same, not even in your own family. You and your brother, you might have a twin, but you have different, you know, perspective on things. And so we just had to just get through it and stay focused on what we were sent to do, what we felt we needed to do in school in order to make it and be something, you know, make something of ourselves. And our parents always want you to do better than them, you know. But they did really good in bringing us up and helping us to.
Well, obviously, I mean, you two have led successful lives. I mean, in the secular world and in the spiritual world, a leader, both of you. I mean, elder here at the church, you're very involved in helping people from so many different directions. So.
Well, I've been blessed about that. As far as religion is concerned, and even when I was in the military, the few things that I went through, I went to church every Sunday. I was just into religion, and I thank God for everything that He had given me every step of the way that I've made. And I also coming up in Louisville, I just heard Brenda say something about school. We never had any problems in school. I mean, there were a few problems, but I wasn't involved with it. But in Louisville, you could pick your high school. When I was coming up, any high school you wanted to go to, as long as you could get to it, you could go to it. And I chose not to go to the high school where I lived that was close to me. I went on the other side of town. That's when I said it was predominantly white, but it was what you call the little high muckety school. I got in there and I was lucky. And I went there specifically to be an architect. You know, I did a lot of drafting. That's what a lot of classes. And I said, I'm going to U of L to become an architect. That was my forte in life. But as you see, I got sidetracked. But
I never knew that about you. But you actually chose to go to a majority white school.
Yes, I did.
To pursue a better education than what you thought you were going to be doing.
I think that could have been it, because I know the school that was close to me. It was a pretty good school. I think I would have had too much fun if I had gone there.
Okay.
So
that's
okay. Yeah, I said I better go try to get an education, and that's what I did. Yeah, but I'm glad I did, and I'm glad I took the road that I did. Coming up, it's been great spiritually, and I got involved with the church in Honolulu, and there was quite a bit of mixture of races there. We never ever had a problem. We worked together. We ate every month. Every month we had dinners at the church, and everybody was invited, and everybody just I mean, had
It was
a great
like-
time. You know.
It was like a melting pot of people. And that's where we learned to get along. We learned more about each other's cultures, and
Yes.
we spent time with one another. We talked to one another, and we started feeling more comfortable with one another because we knew something about them ourselves without being told about them. We spent time together. And even today, that's what we need to do. We need to spend time and get to know people and stop listening to what someone said. Those people are like this and those people are like that, and know for yourself. Don't try to hear what everybody else is saying, and be bold enough to stand up and say, hey, I'm going to find out about this person. I want to know this person better. They seem to be okay, and if not, then I know to back away. I know not to go there,
Well, thank you for sharing that. That's exactly what we wanted to talk about here at the end, like the practical things, like here in the church, like what do we need to be doing? Like you're describing Hawaii, like, okay, there was a real community there.
It was.
You called it a melting pot. Everybody together, intermingling. We got to know each other, and that was that's the same thing we need here in Madison in our community.
Right.
Just the intermingling and the blessing one another.
Right.
Yeah, we had here at Madison, we were treated well. The only reason we came to Madison is because of our son. He wanted more activity, and we were going to
Pennington.
Pennington Bend Church of Christ, a small church up on the hill.
And it was an
And-
all-white church.
Yeah, it was all white,
Oh, it was.
but it was they just didn't have the things that you had
For
here in
your
Madison.
son.
Yeah.
So we said, well,
We
we'll
enjoyed
try
it.
it.
They
Brenda
were
said,
nice.
I've been to Madison before. I think she'd come over here once or something like that. And I said, well, okay, we'll try it. We came over, and we were treated well. I said, I kind of like that, Brenda. So
And
we
Ian
came
liked
back.
it. He was in Shayna's class.
in Shayna's class.
He liked it.
And we started coming back more and more, and we were accepted. But
Yeah.
I guess in the later years, we came doing all that split. I didn't even realize it was splitting. I'm gonna tell you the truth.
No, I didn't either.
But after that, I think the big thing is maybe it got a little cliquish, or that I think it was a little cliquish, and we kind of felt left out of a few things that were going on. People still treated us well. I mean, they would see us, they treated us well, but we weren't involved with
involved or included.
certain
And that's why I
things.
tried to get involved in more things. I tried whatever was going on. I tried to go here, do this, do that, and you could feel some standoffish things. And if you were doing something, it was always like somebody felt like you were getting ahead of them, or you were going to be more recognized than they, or they could do a better job, or they were entitled to something that you were not really entitled to. It's like some attitudes, not everybody, but this is our church, our money is in here, and you're just, we just let you come in here. That's the attitude, because from where I grew up, all of those things stirred up in me again. It came back, and it was like, I know how to handle this. I know how to back off, and I know how to stay. And I did those things. It was my choice. Do I want to stay? Do I want to back off? Or do I just leave it alone and let God guide me? Because I'm here for a reason. I don't know what that reason is, what the purpose is, but I know I am enjoying this journey here, even with all of its difficulties. And when we first came up here, when Milton was talking about us first coming here, we were getting ready to park in the parking lot. there were some whites standing out in the parking area, and he wanted to park there, and they would not move. They knew we were getting ready to pull in. We wanted to pull in there, but they stood there and they continued with their conversations. Well, they knew what they had done. So the next Sunday, we came back, and we saw those people. They came running up to us and said, "I'm sorry for my attitude." They knew what they had done.
What a story.
They came up and said they were sorry, and I won't say any names.
Yeah,
no
don't say
names,
their
no
names.
names, no names. But the statement they said, and then it was like they repented, really, and they apologized. And, because I was like, how is it that we have racism in this world, and it's mostly in the church? We have, the church is like, okay, we're these people over here, but they're those people over there. Okay, we can come together and we can be nice to each other, but we don't really have to deal with them, And so, of course, yeah, we have some prejudice in us too. There are some things that, hey, we don't care about, a lot of things, but we don't address that, and we don't treat you that way. We try to get along with everybody and be kind, because we want others to be kind to us.
Well, you're modeling for other people.
We're trying to, but then you have people that just have their own way. You have your way, and I have my way, I've been told. And neither one of us are wrong, but we just this and we're just that. And I'm going like, isn't that, straddling the fence here? Either you're here or you're there, and it's like, don't treat me, I don't want to be treated any different than what you would want me to treat you, or you treat other people better, and then you say, oh, well, we're not going to worry about them over there, pushed aside. And it's not everybody, it's just a few. And there are a few who have said, I've seen some things on Facebook, that they're rethinking a lot of things now. That they're rethinking and coming into their own about what's right and how to treat people.
This is a time where a lot of people are rethinking a lot of things that may have just inherited throughout the years.
That's it.
That's true.
See, we need
It's
to hear
inherited.
those type of stories, even like that parking lot story.
Mm-hmm.
Because I would not be thinking that would still be happening.
Yes.
And it does.
In 2000.
In 2000.
That's
yeah.
when we first came here. In 2000, yes, sir.
Yeah, it did happen.
They
that
would
way.
not move, but then they came back the next, and I said, well,
Yeah.
I don't know. I started thinking, I'm not sure if we should stay here or if we should, go. But I said, let's go anyway, because somebody in there wants to will do the right thing. Somebody in there. It's not everybody. That was just a little group of people.
Yeah.
But I look at the whole mass of people. If I'm treated well by the mass, I don't worry about the little small stuff over here.
Diane and I probably would have driven away and not come back, if we thought we weren't wanted, but you didn't. You came back.
No, because we were determined to finish what we came to do. And that was to come here Steve flat.
Yeah.
Because I enjoyed his preaching,
Yeah.
And I don't know. I look at people with what they are saying to me. It doesn't matter who's saying it. It's just what they are saying. What are they saying? And how are they saying it to me? Are they saying it in a degrading way? Are they saying it in an encouraging and uplifting way? If you're not going to uplift me, I'm not going to be bothered with you, because my purpose is to uplift you, and I will try to do that as often as I can. But when you're not responding to that in a positive way, then I know to stay back, to walk away, as my mother did. Just walk away, keep going with your head up high, and keep going, mind your business. You know, there's no need of both people being angry. Let that one person go on and be angry. There's no need of two. You being angry with them. Don't let them pull you down.
Yeah, I like that. You look upon them as the problem, not you.
Not me.
They're the ones that
have the problem.
Yeah. Let me wrap this up. Thank you so much for sharing this, and it makes me want to hear more. And I mean, I've always loved and admired both of you. And
we appreciate you all too. We love you all too.
I mean, when they think of you, they think of loving people because you actually express your love. You don't keep it in. Yeah. Some of us other ones keep it in more than
right.
you do. I mean, you express your love, and people know that and respond to that. So we're blessed to have you here at Madison.
We're blessed to be here. Yes. We just try not to let things like that bother us or take over who we are inside. Even if there's a group of people sitting over here, we're having dinner. That happened too. Had dinner one time and we wanted to sit with this group that was so kind to us, but you can't sit here because we're saving seats for somebody else. And we said, oh, okay, that's fine. So we moved to a seat by ourselves and no one else came over to talk to us or to sit with us.
Well, I hate to hear that story too, but that's
together.
The reality, right?
That's what happened. Yeah. And but we just dropped it. You know, it was like, okay, that's just the way they are. Even though I feel that it's not right, or you know, it's being partial, showing partiality, but the fact that no one came to us, you know, and I just said, well, I think it wasn't too long after you had become an elder then too, and I'm going like, well, okay, they'll get it one day, they'll get it, you know, and it was like
you attribute it to weaknesses in other people, and you try to be stronger than that.
Yes, see, I rise above that.
And
I rise.
To me, that's amazing. You don't get mean. That's not you. You don't get mean. You don't get, neither one of you get mean.
You can't make any progress when you get mean. And if you angry and you stay angry, when you stay in that dark place, it's hard to come up out of it. And it's hard for you to see what things really are. You know, you just can't let someone else pull you in to their darkness. You've got to stay in the light and rise above that. Let your holy light shine above all of that. Yes, and it's hard to do, but you ask God to give you strength and the Lord will provide for you.
Well, and maybe that's a good way to end right there, what you just said about rising above and the light that you have in you. And I don't know if I've ever been tested in the same way. Mm-hmm. I mean, not racially, certainly, as you have, maybe some other things, but the choices that you have made that have been healthy choices, godly choices, and how you live your life.
We had a good Christian background.
Yeah, we still have people, you know, here that won't even speak to us. They're I don't know why, and I can't say it's racially.
It's just their personality.
I think it's personality. They'll look right at you and then turn and not speak. I pray for them. They don't bother.
Well, see, the thing is, you have to realize that everybody has different personalities, and everybody, you know, they decide they're gonna like this group, this person over here, and they're not gonna like this person over here, you know. So you have to look at the fact that, okay, we're all different. We were brought up in different surroundings. We were brought up in different ways. And we have to try to get along by pushing all of that stuff aside and just seeing a person as being human, just like you. You know, as a person being not stereotyped into one category, one group, or whether black or white, red, blue, green. You see what really matters, and that's what you focus on. You focus on things that really matter, and what really matters to me is unity and equality, because God is not partial to anyone.
That's my word.
We're all going to
Unity.
face Him, and we're all going to give an answer to Him. And because we're in His image. He brought us here. We didn't make our own skin color. We didn't create our own culture. You know, no tree is the same, no dog is the same, no animals, no fish in the sea are the same. But somehow animals get along, and sometimes they don't get along. We're human beings. We shouldn't be acting this way. We shouldn't have harsh attitudes or bitterness about other people, that are not of our race. We should not do that. But it happens, it's reality. So how do you deal with it? You pray about it, you rise above it. You put yourself up better. I'm better than that. I don't need to stoop low to conquer. I need to rise above it. And I've always been taught that. I've always seen that as an example in my parents, who were strong people.
Well, both of you inspire me and us. Thank you for taking your time to share your story here, even though I know there are many other layers and stories. But
Yeah.
okay. Thank you so much for sharing.
Sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for having us.
Sure.